The Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 4, The Gathering Storm. Was it good? I'm Ravi.
I'm Krishna. And I am Boba Fett.
No, that's actually Arjuna.
No, I'm Boba Fett.
We are Was It Good? And we're going to figure that out. And then afterwards, towards the end of the show, stick around because I'm going to pitch Krishna and Arjuna on Archive 81 and why they should spend their nights alone in a dark room watching it. Now, quick.
I'm out. I'm already out.
You're already out because it's scary. Anyway, that's Archive 81. Before we get there, Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 4, the episode where the Power Rangers did not show up. Were you guys upset?
We saw some bikes.
We saw some Power Ranger spin-off, so maybe they were like the Ninja Power Rangers or the, Power Rangers Lost in Space or something like that.
Are you talking
maybe Turbo
during the flashback?
Yes.
When we see the other androids?
The mechanics?
Yeah, the whole cyberpunk movement apparently is widespread in Tatooine and is making a roaring comeback.
Well, actually, it's on the rim, or in the outer rim, or in the outer rim planets on Tatooine, in the outer rims of Mos Eisley, there happens to be a cyberpunk, only for the youths.
For the youths.
What do they call themselves? Mods? No.
Yeah, mods.
They call them, I forget that.
They call it, apparently, like, too cheap to cover up stuff. Because we've obviously seen cybernetics in Star Wars before.
Most famous is Luke's hand.
Luke's hand, right? But, obviously, he gets covered up with synthetic skin and everything, so... Essentially, they're just taking the idea of people who do that, but they're like, no, it's cool to show it off and
show off your mechanical parts.
Be like mechanical.
Well, it's very like that entire scene during Boba's potentially last flashback, when he takes Fennec obviously to this parlor. It's very like a tattoo parlor, right? Mm-hmm. Where you show up without an appointment, money talks, obviously. Where it's like, yeah, I'll get the work done. Obviously, in this case. Instead of some weird artwork or whatever in your arm, you're trying to save someone's life.
So wait, if I show up with like a bag of cash to a tattoo parlor, I get to cut the line?
Yes, definitely.
I want to try that.
Actually, we can go to my guy and
my guy.
What kind of does he accept, like Monopoly money?
I mean, so just a quick side story, like my first tattoo is the Imperial Cog. And the way I got it was, one of those weird fun nights in West Hollywood and then deciding in the spur of the moment, I want a tattoo. And then going to different shops, and all the shops were like, no, you need an appointment. Because a big thing with tattoos, obviously, because it's permanent, and a tattoo artist, they want to make sure that you're comfortable with it. Yeah. So they'll try and do like multiple, session or like previews or whatever to make sure you're comfortable. This guy, Tattoo Mania on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood, Rocco, owner of the shop, I walk in, like, I want this. He's like, cool. Hey, do you guys know anything about IT stuff? Yeah, help me out. So we just bartered. So I helped him with IT stuff, and he gave me a free tattoo.
That's actually incredible.
And then I got addicted, and then I got all these other tattoos.
Man.
You haven't got a tattoo in a while, though.
I haven't, and this is all still Star Wars related, so it kind of works out. And the last tattoo I want to get, and I've been waiting for whenever Star Wars Celebration in Anaheim happens. It's supposed to obviously be in 2020, or is it 20? Yeah, 2020. Then it was supposed to be in 2021. Then it was now supposed to be in 2022. Who knows if it's going to happen? But I want to get the Mudhorn that you see on Mando's armor. I want to get that right here on my.
You stole my one-word impression.
Mudhorn?
No. You'll see.
Oh.
Tatooine
or tattoo?
No.
Oh.
You say like Boba. He doesn't say Tatooine. He says Tatooine.
Yeah, he needs to get his English checked.
Hey, you dare insult
Boba Fett.
I'm Boba Fett. But anyway, yeah, I want to get that would be my one of my last tattoos, I think, to get. Oh. Because I'm getting old.
Nice.
Well, no, you are old, specifically.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And that will be all from you on this podcast.
Thank you for your time.
Anyway, let's get into Krishna's one-word impression, because he seems like he really wants to tell us.
Mandalorian.
Oh, for the love of God.
So,
is this because of the Beskar thing?
No.
Okay,
this is directly the end of the episode. Fennec turns to Boba and says, I know where we can get help. And you just hear very distinctly the Mandalorian theme.
Do you not think they're trolling? I thought about that for a bit.
I think they're going to bring in Mando. Why wouldn't they?
Ludwig does, obviously, the music for Mando. That is one of his songs.
Yeah. It's the Mando theme, though.
Sure. But at the same time, like, I don't know.
The troll, it could be a troll, but it'd be a waste of that theme. In fact, you're just lowering
Star Wars is also
the
like,
impact of that theme song.
to,
Big
like
time.
not to romanticize Star Wars, but I feel like Star Wars takes itself pretty seriously in terms of like its cinematic.
Have you met the fan
relevance.
base?
You know,
No.
in terms of its its cinematic relevance. So I think just to like drop in that music cue and then have no follow up would be like a big slap in the face. However, there is the entire issue of the sequel trilogy and following up on certain threads. And
Sure, but the
so
sequel,
maybe it is a troll.
but the sequel trilogy though, that's because you went from one director to a different director, then back to another director. So because it was not one continuous story, that's obviously why you have problems.
I'm gonna let you in on a little secret about Book of Boba.
While with Mando and Book of Boba so far has been, I was going to say Kevin Feige, John Favreau and
Filoni.
and George Lucas's adopted son,
Filoni,
Dave Filoni.
and Robert Rodriguez.
Apparently. Yeah.
Well, yeah,
the
I
third
don't-
brother.
the Robert Rodriguez
distant
part,
third.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, the way that this so here's my completely my hot take. Remember when we used to do hot takes?
No.
My hot take is Robert Rodriguez is too involved in this show because I think this show, and this will be my one-word impression, is a little disjointed.
Just like Fennec
You've used
now.
it before.
When?
I don't know.
Not on Book of Boba.
No, but he's used that one word before.
Sure, but like a lot of things in this world are
Hey,
disjointed.
you didn't let me use Incredibles again.
That's different because that's not a real word.
It's two real words.
No, but you can't.
You admit it's two words. We're only allowed to use one word.
Sounds like we
It's
have some
one-word
arbitrary
impression.
decision making.
As the, in facto, not actually hosto.
I don't even know what the fuck you just
Hosto.
Boom! I just made up some words.
In facto, de facto. Wait. In fact, de
In facto, de facto.
De hosto?
No hosto.
No.
And you won't use those words again.
De
Can't
hosto.
remember them.
Exactly.
I mean, while I still enjoy while I still enjoy what's happening with the show, this episode solidified to me that this Book of Boba specifically had some cool ideas, but I think Robert Rodriguez specifically, maybe Favreau and Filoni, I don't know how involved they are as they were into Mandalorian, but this show seems much more disjointed than what even Mando kind of gave, right? Mando, as much as I complained about the mission hunting and
The quest of the week.
the quest of the week type of thing, there was still a
Huzzah!
there was still a consistent story.
Right.
I think the issue that Book of Boba ran into was they wanted to have these flashbacks and then this present day, and I think the method that they used, honestly, hasn't been very good.
No,
with,
it's a
like,
mess.
the tank.
It's a fucking mess.
And it just narratively has not really worked. And it's kind of led to some disjointedness, right? I think there are certain things about the show and like certain things about this episode I really loved, like fire sprayer going flying over the speeder bike gang and raining havoc. I'm like, this is the Boba Fett. I want.
Boba's back.
Fun
Yeah,
fact.
I'm like, the death stare in his eyes as he's just killing them all.
Yeah, I was like,
Incredible.
finally, this is the guy we've been
his
waiting.
eye, I'm pretty sure his eye was twitching because he was happy. Fun fact though, so obviously we tape the pods and then I usually do the thumbnails when we post this fully to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/wasgood. Cool plug there. I took that screen grab of him shooting the biker gang and then I put a quote, "Now this is pod racing."
Oh man! Hey, too soon, man. Too soon.
I mean, it works though. Like that phrase though in like the Star Wars lore is like when you want Star Wars to be a certain way, and then when you finally see characters or actions or things in Star Wars become that. That's now it's Anakin being like, yeah, this is pod racing. This is the thing we've been waiting for. And like a lot of people, to our June's point, a lot of people like, we're very happy to see a violent fucking Boba Fett.
I mean, as much as we want to obviously like make this character a hero, as he is the protagonist of the show, and it is a Disney Plus, so they're not gonna go full like you're rooting for the bad guy, Breaking Bad, the Boba Fett edition. They're not gonna do that.
Breaking
right?
Boba.
Like,
That's what it should have been.
It is nice to have some of that, like, oh, this guy like murders people.
This guy can fuck shit up.
That's
That's what we've been waiting for.
This guy fucks.
Like you don't have to like make him all the way this ruthless killer, but like he has just been getting his ass kicked most of the season, and that's just so different than the image that we got from the original trilogy and some of the backstory with him in like comics and stuff like that and novels and whatever. So it is nice to finally see him get a win.
And especially last week, one of our chief complaints was like he was just letting people walk all over him, right? Like all of these people were disrespecting him and doing shit, and he's like, "You can take your prisoner back. You can live. You know,
You're free."
All this other type of stuff. Like the only ruthless part we saw is when he like blew up that one guy. Cool.
In episode 1.
Right,
yeah.
in episode 1.
Chapter 1.
It was nice to get that again in terms of just like, oh, Boba can fuck shit up. And it definitely, like, they obviously, you know, at the end of the episode are really implying that there's some type of war coming now, like on Tatooine. So hopefully we get to see that ruthless killer that is Boba Fett, because he is a killer.
The other thing too is that makes it more of a shame is that we've seen him in like Clone Wars and Rebels, I think. And as a kid, he was pretty not in Rebels.
He doesn't
just
show
Clone
up in
Wars.
just Clone Wars.
So in Clone Wars, he's like a pretty like
He's an asshole.
ruthless. Like he's like he's an asshole. He's an asshole.
I only
He's
say
not-
this.
he's not like-
I only say that he's an asshole because I've recently decided to just randomly start rewatching random arcs in
That's
Clone
good.
Wars.
That's good.
And in season 4 of Clone Wars, there's an arc where Obi-Wan goes undercover because Cad Bane and Dooku have a plot to capture Palpatine. But in order to like get the right bounty hunters together, they have like a whole weird fucking contest
Yeah.
with a bunch of
a tournament.
essentially. But Cad Bane and Boba Fett are in the same prison together, and Boba Fett is like Cad Bane's like little lackey.
Right.
And Boba Fett gets in like the face of like Obi-Wan undercover, and he's just like a whiny little asshole.
Yeah.
Like the entire time. It's great.
Right. I believe when Clone Wars was first canceled, right? Obviously, it's been revived a couple times. Like I think season 5 was its final season, or
Yeah.
season 6, or whatever it was.
Well, season 5 was the final
One on net television.
on television. Season
first
6
final
was the
on
Netflix one,
Netflix.
and then season 7 was the final.
Right. But so when that was happening, and Filoni kind of did those at Celebration and whatnot, and showed the
previs?
story, showed the
Yeah.
previs and the storyboards. I believe one of the stories was another story with like Boba and Cad Bane. You know, Cad Bane kind of mentoring him
And Ventress,
teaching
too.
him. Yeah, but I think Cad was supposed to die. Like they were gonna have like a duel, and Boba was supposed to beat him, and that was like another step in his evolution of being, you know, a fearless bounty hunter. He takes down basically the top bounty hunter in Cad Bane.
Well, we
Maybe
know
that's
that
gonna-
Cad Bane obviously survives, and he shows up in
Bad Batch.
in Bad Batch in a Fennec episode.
Yep.
Before we get into the whole flashback and when Fennec and Boba first quote meet in the flashback, my one word is actually going to be flashback.
Get out.
Just because I truly believe, and I am hoping real quick, that the flashbacks are done and we just continue the story here. And if you want to do some flash anything, just do flash forwards. Flash forwards are fine.
Ravi,
No.
we definitively know they're over because when Boba Fett came out of the Bacta tank, the robot said, "You have now completed your back to treatment, your back to tank treatment."
Say that 5 times fast.
Exactly, and then I honestly thought I was gonna hear like the mission complete music from a video game.
Or did you see the Xbox achievement
Yeah.
thing? Just shoot through.
Oh, man.
Achievement unlocked.
Unfortunately, I don't want to
Chapter 1 ended.
I don't want to burst anyone's bubbles. But Fennec comes in at that moment and says, "Oh, you're all healed up." And then he said, "On the outside, scars on the inside take longer to heal." So maybe there are still more flashbacks as he deals with his trauma.
No, I mean there is.
I'm kidding.
There's
I
only
hope.
one other flashback I think they could dive into, and that is the Camino ones from when he's a kid. And I could think if like the next 3 episodes, right, are he's gonna be in war or whatever. He obviously they had the back to tank, so he could get fucked up again. And then there's another flashback episode where it is just him as a kid.
He like loses an arm. Now he's in the back to tank for longer. So the flashbacks are now like, you know, the episodes become 2 hours long as he has to. deal
But
with
it's
these
also
flashbacks.
interesting with these flashbacks because, you know, another, I don't know if it's a complaint necessary, but another area that they didn't really help us, the viewer, kind of understand was the time spent.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at the episode without kind of diving into all the subtle clues in terms of where things are happening in Boba's timeline in conjunction with the Mandalorian's timeline, you would argue that his time with the Tusken Raiders appears to be like a couple weeks, maybe a couple months at most.
Right.
but in fact is actually close to like
years.
5 years
Yeah.
that he's with them. And what's more concerning, in my opinion, is the fact that the events of attacking the Pike train to the Tusken Raiders being, massacred by the Pikes and the biker gang, that whole conflict and everything looks like it takes place in a couple of weeks, as opposed to what I originally thought, which was he got saved by the Tuskens, trains for a little bit, and then they all get slaughtered, and then 5 years pass, and then stuff happens. But it's actually he's training with all the Tuskens. He's training with the Tuskens for like 5 years.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
You don't
Again,
get
Star
that at all.
Wars does have a problem, I think, when it comes to time. Like Episode 5 is notorious for Luke is on Dagobah for what appears to be 2-3 days, while Han,
Maybe a few weeks.
Maybe a few.
Maybe.
Well, it's supposed to be, but it appears or it comes across as a couple days. While Han and Leia's whole thing of running away from the Empire, going to Bespin, all that's a couple weeks, right? So Star Wars has always like had this problem where like portraying time is funky, which I guess is inherently a problem with space travel.
You also have to think of like space travel. Like when you're traveling, you're like aging differently too. So like someone did the math of like how long Luke is traveling, like versus how long Leia is traveling just in the movies, and like Luke would be, I think, like 2 years younger than Leia.
Star
Like,
Wars
by
doesn't.
the time they like get through light speed and stuff.
Yeah, Star Wars just ignored that whole thing.
Yeah.
Like they just don't deal with
The
it.
only
so.
like sci-fi series that I think has really ever kind of like, actually there's 2 shows now, or 2 series. Star Trek has always kind of done, I think, a good job of portraying and making sure that you understand the mechanics of space travel. And then more recently, Foundation, because Foundation relies heavily on a traveling space bearing society and time in order to tell its story. Between the space weird long people and then the slow travel with boosters or whatever. So
A producer put an interesting tidbit. So in Star Wars, they don't actually travel by light speed. It's hyperdrives, which could be a different alternative dimension or form of travel.
magic.
Or it might.
bending of space.
I know they explain it in something that I haven't read. Like I think it's explained in a novel, maybe.
Sure, Thrawn.
Or
But then
I'm just throwing characters now.
maybe
apparently
Thrawn.
some things in the new one kind of contradict that. But yeah, hyperdrives are supposed to
Well, yeah, because
different
tunnel.
thing.
Yeah, different.
Laura Dern's character in episode 8 when she nukes all those fleets, that wasn't
It looked
hyperdrive.
cool.
Wouldn't that be light speed?
Yeah.
No,
it
it's
looked cool.
hyperdrive.
I thought that was light
It
speed.
was using the hyperdrive.
Right,
Oh,
but if they were to use an actual hyperdrive, she wouldn't have been able to do that because it would have opened
a black hole. That's
hole,
what. Yeah,
a
that's what I'm
wormhole,
saying.
and then she
Okay,
would have
yeah.
gone through it.
So that would have been light speed that she
So
was
maybe
going
they have
at.
both technologies,
Yeah, maybe.
and they can kind of like turbo hyperspeed for turbo
Story
or like
convenience.
they need,
Whatever works.
Plot device.
they need
Oh,
to de-age.
whatever
they
it
just turn
takes.
on the light speed.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever
So-
keeps everyone the same age.
Back to like the whole idea of flashback. So obviously we get a big portion of this episode is the flashback, and Krishna was willing to basically bet his life and his future savings that Boba and Fennec knew each other. But unfortunately, we didn't get
I
it.
said this will tell us. This will sort of, I think, set the stage for Bad Batch. So I said, if Boba and Fennec recognize each other, then there's a strong bet that Fennec and Boba are going to meet in Bad Batch, in a season of Bad Batch. The fact is, though, they didn't. They didn't recognize. They know of each other, but they don't seem to know each other before that. So that whole theory just went out the window.
That I don't think is necessarily true. I think what they did in terms of their meeting was smart, where they are aware of each other.
They know of each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like
They
she
don't
knows
seem
who
to have met.
she knows who a Boba Fett is.
Yeah.
He knows who a Fennec is. It
They know
doesn't
what a Fennec is.
right. It doesn't mean though like they didn't cross paths or something occurs.
Right.
Right. Because in
He-
Bad Batch, like
and they talk about it a lot, right? Like he always wears his mask, right? So potentially
That's true.
she's running into a young version of Boba who's just masked up. Because even when he's like, I'm Boba Fett, she's like, bullshit, you're not. He's dead, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what everyone's heard around the universe, right? And he's this masked bounty hunter that's around, but he's clearly different. I think they're also trying to he's so scarred up, he's unrecognizable, right? Because, like, again, he has the same face as all of his clones, and we know for a fact
that's true.
Fennec has run into, even though the Bad Batch are altered and look different,
she's ran into clones.
She would recognize him at least as a clone.
Yeah,
but I think, and maybe this is part of where the show's disjointed, I don't think they did a good enough job of, like, scarring him up to be unrecognizable. But I think they're trying to tell you, like, yeah, he's unrecognizable.
Well, he didn't. Yeah. Either way, I didn't see it. Didn't to me that connection. That meeting didn't seem to imply that they have worked closely together.
Right.
Maybe they've crossed paths, but I don't think they've necessarily worked together. They didn't seem to have developed any other relationship in the past. So you can forget Bad Batch. It's not happening.
I kind of hope it does now, just so that you can eat your words.
But then I'm new. Like they did a terrible job in Book of Boba.
I think that's the theme though. Here is like there's a couple of cool ideas.
Yeah,
it's just the execution. I don't think has been
great.
It has not been great. It has not made things obvious. Again, like going back to like the time stuff, the fact that I didn't really kind of place the time stuff until I watched a couple of like other YouTubers and read a couple of articles and read an interview from like Morrison that actually kind of even like lays it out. Then it kind of like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But watching it and like seeing what you're just given at face value, it makes it a little difficult, which kind of sucks.
Yeah.
We finally get to see the ship that I had been waiting to see forever. It is no longer Slave One. It is now called Firespray, which is interesting because Firespray is not necessarily the name of the ship. It is the type of ship.
Right.
So Wikipedia has a new article that showed up like 2 weeks ago. Surprise, surprise. And Firespray, basically the quick summary here is Firespray ships are like courier type ships for traveling and moving of cargo. They're not usually used for like
bounty hunting.
So his is obviously Boba Fett's ship is heavily modified. Which is interesting. And there is obviously a big connect with Firespray ships and Mandalorians. Which
Did they say in the show or in something where the name Slave One went? I know, obviously, we know on the outside world why it's not being used.
He just calls it Firespray in the episode.
That's it. That's it.
He said, and before this episode, Tamara Morrison had done a couple interviews where he was asked point blank about Boba Fett's ship.
Yeah.
And which I also thought was interesting. Like, if you look at some of the interviews, no interviewer calls it what we have been referring, which makes sense. Like Disney PR, Star Wars PR, they want to get rid of the name, and I think that's fine. Like, I think it's fine. There was a lot of like, and I'm going to generalize here, a lot of Midwesterners that weren't happy with that.
Oh man,
whatever, idiots.
Idiots.
But I think it's fine. Like, I call it Boba Fett's ship, whatever. Like, I think that's great.
I think there's a big missed opportunity here, right?
Call it what?
They should have called it Firestarter.
And then what? They like duked out in the law in legal with
the Prodigy.
Get Prodigy Firestarter.
Firestarter.
I would love to have Prodigy, like Prodigy's part of Star Wars.
That feels like a Robert Rodriguez thing, you know?
No,
like
he's
if you
more
can,
like.
If you can have the Hugh as part of Star Wars, you can have fucking Prodigy as.
But the Hugh's a little different because it's throat singing and it's not English.
Did you hear that weird song we heard in the parlor? In the mod parlor on Tatooine, when they're the whole montage of putting Fennec back together.
So the
Cantina band.
I was like, oh, now we're just doing techno.
Apologies, I don't know the actor's name off the top of my head, but the individual who was kind of like the head modder, the one that actually mods Fennec, that song you were listening to is actually his song.
That's what I'm saying.
He's an artist. Unfortunately, I don't know off the top of my head his name, but he's the artist that did that music.
Kanye.
We can totally get
Prodigy.
Prodigy.
It wasn't Kanye.
Prodigy can be a bunch of like modded humans in this world. They can just be, Wow, that sucks.
The lead singer, he died.
Oh, so the band is not even active anymore. Correct. It's probably a good bet.
Other things, obviously, in terms of things that are happening, we have Arjuna, help me out here. Black
Kersantin.
What was his nickname? That was it BK? No, the Twi'lek. She gave him said his nickname.
I thought it might have been Santi.
I think it was Santi. Yes,
I think it was
Santi. So obviously he goes to murder or beat up a couple of the patrons.
He
at the
only
bar.
rips his arm off. He's still alive.
Yeah,
Man.
and like we know in Star Wars, you can like grow a new one.
Yeah, the back to tanks.
Fuck the tanks. So obviously he's got some problems.
He's just got some anger issues. I mean, who doesn't in Star Wars?
Well, do we know
Kylo?
why? Do we know why he doesn't like those particular group of
I just don't
aliens?
think he likes
Trandoshans?
people.
Trandoshans, yeah. Do we know why?
No.
So he was in the comics. Actually, it's kind of a throwback to his time in the comics. He was captured and forced into these gladiator pits,
Right.
where he was basically forced to fight them. And then some other Trandoshians kind of moved him around and stuff. So he has like a big distaste for them.
And she mentions his gladiator days and whatnot. And a lot of people think his gladiator days, I think, would put him right in line of being on Tatooine in the gladiator pits around when the Obi-Wan show is set. And he also has a history with Obi-Wan in those comics. So a lot of people think a younger version of him will show up in Obi-Wan.
If I had to guess, he's going to be in the background in a shot.
Or maybe he's just going to be, in it.
To win it.
Yeah.
Real quick, why is Boba copying Han Solo?
In what way?
So
he's gathering a team?
Han has a Wookiee best friend. Han has a lady friend that's always around. Boba has a lady friend that's around. Boba now has a Wookiee. Why is Boba copying Han?
They both love their ships.
They both love their ships. Both are seeking respect.
Does he have a son that's going to stab him in the
I don't know. We don't know Boba's full history. Real quick, hey, can I depress you both real quick? Just for fun?
Sure.
I love depressing people. We all, as fans, believe Boba died at the end of episode 6, right? Yeah. For the most part, right? His story was, in our minds, kind of done.
Right.
We're now building him up and giving him all this story. It's been hit and miss. We'll see what happens. But at some point, this character will have to die.
Yeah.
Doesn't that make you sad?
No. He's probably going to die in this show.
Wow, that's depressing.
Books have a beginning, middle, and an end.
And if it's named after a person.
Oh boy, that's true.
If it's named after a person, then the natural ending is their death.
That's like my theory about Attack on Titan that we were talking about earlier. With was it Flacco?
Flacco? No, Falco.
Flacco.
Joe Flacco, quarterback, ex-quarterback of the
Yeah, that was my theory. He's going to cross dimensions.
Oh my god.
God, Joe Flacco appears in Attack on Titan. I'll quit.
Also with what was the nickname? Saudi? No.
Santi.
Saudi. Santi.
Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah, I see it. Thank you. The other thing with Santi in the comics, his knuckles get replaced with like metal electric knuckle things. Like very kind of like Wolverine-esque.
Yeah.
Like those things are like they're part of him. He's not wearing them.
He's not wearing like
they're
a brass
part of
knuckle.
him. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty
That's
cool.
pretty fucked up.
So he's a modded Wookiee.
Yeah.
Well, he's part of Team Boba now, so
Team
Boba is a bunch of freaks.
So I mean, inevitably when Mando comes, I guess he wouldn't have Grogu with him. But it'd be fun to get like a spin-off of
Wow, what happened to your face?
Yeah, you're like this. He doesn't have Grogu with him.
You were like legitimately sad. What's up?
I saw a tear forming. Hello, darkness. That
Everyone
might be
knows
so small.
Grogu is
Do you have
like
a small Grogu for you to
the
hold?
best
Do you
part.
need to
I have
hold
a big
it?
one.
You got a big one right there? There you
That's
go.
mine.
It's my guy.
Are you going to take that with you when you leave?
Yes. I paid $20 for that.
This is gonna be his pillow.
Weird. He'll turn yellow.
But it'd be funny to get Black Chrysanthemum with like Grogu, just like raining down. It'd be like our Groot, rocket type of.
That'd be kind of fun.
Thing.
That'd be cute.
But real quick, obviously, like he is modded. The mods are modded. Fennec is modded. There's a lot of like cyberpunk modded stuff happening. Is this something that makes sense in Star Wars? Because up until this point, we've seen the cybernetic stuff. It's mostly a Sith trait. It's mostly a full limb, and it's mostly done by a loved one.
Yeah, of course. It totally makes sense in the world. I don't love the execution in the show.
Yeah.
It's I just don't like the colorful bikes.
Yeah.
Doesn't fit on a sandy planet where everything is brown and sandy colored.
Well, I'm not talking about the let's ignore the colored bikes. If you're really upset about it, what I'll do is I'll download the episode, color correct them so they're more dull for you. And
That'd be amazing.
great.
Krishna actually started a movement. He said #not my Tatooine.
But I'll say this though, like the mods that we are seeing where they are exposed, like Tatooine is a poor planet.
Yeah.
Right? Like if we're looking at the hierarchy in terms of classism that is the Star Wars universe, you know, folks like Anakin, who is part of the fucking Jedi Council, who loses his arm or his wrist or whatever in episode 2, he's part of this like high class Jedi Order thing that really doesn't give a fuck about money. So he's obviously gonna get a nice, beautiful new hand. You're not gonna be able to tell. Well, these poor saps, unfortunately, live on a desert planet. They can barely afford it. That's why it looks like this rough and tumble, broken-y, cyberpunky looking thing.
Right.
I mean, like I said, it makes sense because the technology is there.
Yeah.
But I see what you're saying, like an outer rim planet that, you know, does seem to be technologically a little bit lower than other planets.
I would say it's technological. I just think it's a wealth thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure people have the technology or the know-how to do it.
Yeah.
But to cover it up and do it in such a way that you can't tell, it's going to be costly, right?
Yeah,
It's going to cost money.
That's why Fennec has the exposed.
Like, look at
cybernetic
plastic
parts.
boobs. If you have money, you can't tell. If you don't, you usually can tell. It's the same idea. You're welcome. I've finally done it. I have connected fake boobies
And Star
at
Wars.
Star Wars.
Oh, yeah.
Does that mean fake boobs aren't recyclable?
Oh, man.
Aren't they?
Well, plastic never degrades. Well, I mean, plastic is recyclable, but like it never.
Yeah, how does that work? Like,
never.
like if a person is, you know, they pass away and they have like,
What happens to that fake boobies?
yeah,
Everything.
like is it biodegradable?
I don't think
But then if it is biodegradable,
Then you're fine. But I don't
but
know
no,
if
but
it
then
is.
if you have it in you over time, wouldn't it degrade anyway?
This is a great
you're gonna
question.
have to look up.
You're
gonna have to look up. The
I think we have a
half-life of the
spin-off show.
materials.
Was it boob?
Was it boob? Oh Jesus. Other questions here under speculation lane because we like to speculate. Fennec,
Yeah.
right? Not recognizing Boba. Actually, we kind of talked about this. I'm gonna skip over that one. I don't want to bring that up.
One. Yeah.
I guess the big one here is if the big thing with this episode was it was kind of an info dump in terms of why Boba. You know, like why are you doing what you do, Boba? We were hoping to get more of this. I think kind of built up.
Sure.
Instead, what we kind of got was, you know, got out of Sarlacc pit, got robbed. Raiders kind of brought you in, family, Vin Diesel style.
Family.
You know, family gets murdered, now revenge. And then that's kind of where we're at, essentially.
Well, there's one extra step. He tells Fennec that he's tired of being a grunt, and he's tired of idiots giving them the orders and getting bounty hunters and other people killed. He's like, clearly, there's a pride thing here. He's like, we can do it better. We're smarter than them. We're in the know-how. We've been in this line of business for a long time. So that's like the next step. Like he's getting past revenge now, and he's just looking to be like he's just so over. It seems to be he's just so over this like hierarchy of imbeciles at the top, which I think we can all,
I think we can all agree with that in the real world.
I get it. Yeah, I think everyone feels like that at some point with the hierarchies that they are forced into.
I'm sorry.
Sounds like we got a diva on our hands. Here.
Krishna, are you saying that I should walk into my job and just say, I'm Boba Fett? I will lead with respect.
I am Boba Fett.
You can do that. I don't think it's going to get you very far.
I think this is so. There's a whole anti-work movement on like Reddit, and the big like resignation is happening. Krishna is a big supporter. If you go into it with the idea that you are Boba Fett and you can do it better.
Actually, speaking of that, real random aside here, but England is actually piloting a 4-day work week for a bunch of companies.
Tokyo already did it, and it worked well.
A lot of countries are starting to pilot it.
You know, for us though that work in sports, that doesn't work. So that sucks.
Considering most of us work 6 days a week.
That just sounds like poor time management on your part.
I don't make my hours.
Well, who does? Boba Fett?
Roger Goodell.
Oh, damn. The NFL dictates all.
Okay. big question here before we go into bold predictions and all that fun stuff.
The answer is yes.
Big question. Okay. As we know, at the end of the episode, we hear the beautiful theme music of Mandalorian.
I have another hot take here. I think the Boba theme's better than the Mando theme.
Get out.
Yeah. Can you, Mr. Producer, can you cut his mic?
Don't get me wrong. I like the Boba theme, but it is not better.
I think it's
It
better.
is not better. Than
I think
the
it's
I
better.
honestly, Arjuna, the part of the Boba theme where the singing starts like, ah, that part or whatever, like, I feel like that was done as a joke. Like, it feels like a goofball joke.
That's a clear tribute to like the Tusken Raiders and that tribal type of community.
Sure.
The fact that you're making fun of it
I'm not
just shows your ignorance.
Sure, fine. But at the same time, from a musical standpoint, it feels like a goof.
You like the hue.
That's different.
Go, wang, wang.
That's throat singing. That is now you being way more ignorant. That's like an actual real people. It's like the Tusken Raiders. They're not a real people.
What? They're real. Tatooine's real.
Fuck off.
in our minds.
Anyway, Krishna is obviously a big believer that the Mandalorian will show up.
I don't think I'm the only one.
I'm a
somehow.
big believer that he won't show up, and it's going to be other Mandalorians that we've seen, like maybe the Armorer or the big guy played by Jon Favreau.
Let me ask you this: Why
Yes.
would they show up to help Boba?
Because they're bounty hunters,
But why?
and they're
Like,
going to
Boba
get paid.
doesn't have a.
He just said credits aren't a problem, and then Fennec says,
How
"Well, we
does
need
she-
muscle."
How does she know them? How does Fennec know the Armorer and the big Jon Favreau?
The Bounty Guild. Remember
Most of them dead.
what's
yeah, isn't Jon Favreau's bounty hunter dead?
we don't know he's dead. We just know the armor was taken off.
Yeah, I don't see it. I think before that happens, I think one of the Bad Batch.
How much
show
money
up.
should we throw into this?
I would say one of the surviving members of the Bad Batch show up
$1.
before one of those fights.
$1. A whole dollar.
No, I refuse.
Fine. A whole European
You know,
dollar.
that would honestly make a lot of sense. You wouldn't have to pay another actor. You know,
It's true.
Tamora gets to just, he gets to be Commander Cody. He gets to be,
Rex.
I guess, to be the entire Bad Batch.
Yeah, I would love to see it actually. Him be the entire Bad Batch.
Oprah shows up on
He's
set.
Crusher.
You're Tamora Morrison. You're Tamora Morrison. You're all Tamora
Can you imagine him
Morrison.
doing the big guy Crusher, like
Yeah.
his that impression, like the big.
If he doesn't get
Wrecker.
if he
Yeah,
Hey,
if
I'm
he
Wrecker.
doesn't get nominated
Wrecker.
for some kind of Emmy or some fucking
happens.
award, if that happens, then fuck television.
He does not do the voice for the Bad Batch. in
No,
the
not
Bad
at all.
Batch.
No,
doesn't.
he would
That's a
have
shame.
if
if he did,
if they were to go that path, like he would obviously work, I'm sure, with the voice actor to
Bradley D. Baker. I believe.
yeah, to nail it down and everything. I mean, that would be amazing. But again, I don't believe you're gonna get your Mandalorian in the next episode.
yeah, probably not. It'll be
Definitely
it'll
not
be
the
last
ex-
episode.
Definitely not the next one.
Yeah, is that or the penultimate? Maybe I don't know.
The next episode is going to be, to Arjuna's point, the quest style, where Fennec has to go and find someone to connect with whoever the heroes are that are going to come.
This is where I can see the
save
show
them.
actually going off planet, like in their
Yeah.
recruitment. I don't think both of them would, but like maybe somebody takes
right.
Firespray and goes to recruit people. or
Firestarter.
whatever.
What if Cara Dune shows up somehow?
I mean,
That'd be a surprise.
Recast it.
Yeah, people have talked about. There have been rumors of like recasting her.
Yeah.
Especially because that spinoff was supposed to feature her.
So here's another, to kind of annoy Krishna, because that's really why I do what I do. So they play the Mandalorian theme music. Okay.
Yeah.
It's supposed to make you believe, oh, the Mandalorian Din Djarin is going to show up, or maybe one of his many new
Grief.
friends, or Cobb Vanth or somebody like that shows up. But what if they decided
Cobb
to
Vanth.
do something completely different, where it's like it's just music, right? And this music doesn't necessarily signify the Mandalorian, but it signifies more, we're getting to work, we're getting shit done, or shit's about to go down, right? That's the significance of the music, as opposed to it being a direct correlation to the Mandalorian. And instead, who shows up is none other than another notorious bounty hunter in the galaxy who knows Boba Fett really, really well. A Han fucking Solo decides to show
he's a
up.
smuggler.
Yeah, he's not a
He's not a
bounty
bounty
hunter.
hunter. That's the first.
He kind of does some bounty
Second of
hunting.
all, I mean, that would be cool, but again, why even bother using the Mandalorian? Just play the Boba theme and then have Han Solo show up. Or it'd be fucking cool.
Oh, the Han Solo
Don't get me
theme.
wrong, that'd be awesome. But there's no point in putting the Mandalorian theme there at all. Zero. Unless Mandalorian show.
I think they put it in because they're gonna use time travel and Django will show up.
I think they put it in there to make you the viewer to remind you that there's
still
another
exists.
good show out there.
Ooh,
The real show is.
Ooh.
We're still waiting for the real show. Ouch.
damn.
That's a
Damn.
take.
Damn.
That is a take, but
But unfortunately, a lot of people agree with you.
I mean, I think the reception to this episode was a lot better than last week's. I will say
It seems
this
hit or miss.
right
Seems
off
very
the
hit or
bat, though,
miss.
like that whole sequence with the little rat droid in the flashback and that weird like Disney-esque chase sequence with Fett and that creature robot felt really out of place and, to Arjuna's point, disjointed again, especially when he picks it up by the throat and is like, "Do you know who I am?" I don't see what the point of telling some random droid that is. Like, I don't get the point of that.
So I didn't mind it because it reminded me sort of OG Star Wars.
Yeah.
You know, like when the Jawas show up to sell the droids to Uncle Ben and Luke. You know, it reminded me a little bit of that. These goofy fucking droids just having these weird personalities. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like droids are sort of this forgotten aspect of Star Wars that is actually pretty important.
Something that was absent has been absent for a lot of Mando. Obviously, there was the assassin bot in the beginning and end of that show, but like for the majority of it, there hasn't necessarily been like the droid companion like there is in basically every other.
But again,
mainstream Star
though,
Wars,
I think it ties back into where they are.
Yeah.
They're in
Sure.
the out of the they're in the outer rim. These people don't have a lot of money for, fun stuff. And a droid, I think, for the most part, especially if you're on the move consistently, is kind of considered like a fun thing,
Right.
as opposed to like a necessity.
They also played Mando really hating droids
Yeah.
for the whole first season.
Right.
Wouldn't let him work on his ship. So
Right.
I think
Before we get into bold predictions for episode 4, let's just revisit real quick our season-long ones. Krishna still believes the penultimate is going to be Old West Showdown.
I want to change that to Mando showing up.
With Cad Bane,
Paid by Paul Giamatti.
played by Paul Giamatti.
Such a weird show.
And Cad Bane will die.
Wait, what's this one? Wait, Thad.
Oh no, I just
Oh, okay.
I don't think that. Oh, yeah. My other bold prediction is Dad likes it a lot.
Oh,
Yeah, no,
nice.
I predicted that.
Obviously, we're still not the penultimate, but Cad Bane is still definitely on the table as someone that may appear.
Maybe they hire Cad Bane.
Pikes. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, yeah, maybe Fennec goes and gets Cad Bane, but I believe if Cad Bane shows up, he's going to be on the Pike side.
yeah.
He's also
that
probably
would be
old.
dope,
He's probably
actually.
pretty old at this point too.
Well,
You
his
don't know
race,
how he ages?
his race doesn't age that. They live a while.
They're
too.
immortal.
He's old.
They actually never die.
Who would you actually cast?
For Cad Bane?
Yeah,
Well, it's
not-
Tom Hardy is your number one because he already played Bane, and now he can just play Cad Bane, and it's perfect. But Paul Giamatti is the right answer because it would be
No,
hilarious.
the program AutoCAD.
Amazing.
Actually, you know what would be better?
That's
is
such a nerdy
if
joke,
they
I think.
just they recreate Cad Bane in like the CG environments and like Rebels or Bad Batch.
Yes.
And then they rotoscope him out and then stick that.
Yeah, but-
and that's Cad Bane.
But it's gonna be like the old the first seasons where it's like really bad.
Yeah.
Or it's
really,
blocky
really,
as
really
fuck.
bad.
I think they should actually age up Cad Bane, like make him really old and
With a
put in,
beard.
Put in Clint Eastwood under all that prosthetic. He's like, get off my.
No. Just have Clint Eastwood show up, and then you do like a really shitty job of like a color replacement, and just make his skin blue.
I think Matthew McConaughey is the right choice because the southern drawl.
All right.
Yeah,
No,
but
but
Bane
he's-
has like a slightly southern.
Yeah, but Matthew McConaughey, I've
he
never
would never do it.
Well, not that, but I've never seen him play like Cad Bane is ruthless, right? Like
Oh, you've never seen Matthew McConaughey play.
you've never seen him play like bad.
This would be his opportunity.
He played a bad dad in Interstellar.
he's a terrible.
Real quick, not to go back too much, but did anyone feel like there was a missed opportunity with the flashbacks? Like they kind of ended them, but I honestly thought as soon as they did the Fennec, like, oh, we're gonna get more, we're gonna connect it all the way up to where he is, and then they just kind of did this like quick montage. But the most unanswered thing for me was like how he got to being able to tracking Mando and then like tracking Cobb and the armor and everything, right? And I thought they would potentially like in the next episode show like him tracking and then going to the planet right where the disappearance is. Because remember, he shows up with Fennec there because that's where he tracked Mando with his armor essentially, and that's when he kind of pledges like.
I don't know though if that's like. I don't know. I mean, is any of it? I mean, your question is gonna be is any of it necessary? But I'm like, okay, is him saving Fennec necessary? Is him hanging out with the Tuskens for 2 episodes necessary?
No, I mean all that stuff though builds up who he is as a character.
I think that could potentially build him up as a character too, or like depending on how you want to utilize that.
I mean, he thinks that the stupid Sarlacc pit still had his armor. He went down. He nuked it with a sonic charge. Or sonic boom. Or
I love those sonic.
Those were great. And then obviously checked, didn't find it, and then clearly at some point he's going to go and just kind of track it down based on, knowing. Like at some point he'll have to remember that Jawas took it, right? Or like do some kind of scan, whatever. But also the other thing too is like, how did Mando learn about another Mandalorian? He heard it from a person. Talking about a person, so it's safe to bet like he would go to Mos Eisley or Mos Espa and ask around or whatever, like, hey, did you see some armor? And then somebody would say whatever, and that leads him to that naturally. And then obviously, if he tracks down Cobb and Cobb's like, yeah, so-and-so took it, he's already got Fennec. Fennec knows who that person is. So then it's just a matter of tracking down. So like it kind of logically makes sense. Then again, like seeing it, that's cool, but I just explained what you would be seeing.
But you could also do that
there's
with
a better way to do
Fennec,
it too.
yeah.
There's a better way. Instead of a flashback, Cobb Vanth will be one of the people that show up, and they'll have a conversation and be like,
Yeah,
"Oh, it's good to
too.
see you again." You'll be like, "Yeah, you roughed me up when you came to see me the last time, and I gave you I don't know, whatever." Yeah, I gave you the business. Yeah.
Actually, Cobb Vanth also makes sense to show up because
He's a sheriff.
he's a sheriff. He wants to
Or
protect
he's
the people.
Is he a sheriff? Is he a
Sure,
sheriff?
he's the sheriff.
Sure.
Protector?
Yeah.
The lethal protector. That's who he is.
So
Oh, no, that's Venom. I'm sorry.
Hello,
Eddie.
In terms of other predictions, I had said that Boba's ship is going to blow up.
Technically,
Still could happen.
in Clone Wars, doesn't the ship
Well,
blow
he's
up?
in this show.
I know,
show.
but like the ship's already blown up.
What, Boba Fett's ship?
Yeah, when it was Jango's, it blew up in Clone Wars. They blow it up. They destroy the ship.
You're talking about his helmet,
Oh yeah, you're right.
not his ship.
What's the
Shit,
difference?
helmet, same thing.
Big difference. And Arjuna said Omega will show up. Still could happen.
I still contend.
Fennec and Omega were friendly.
And the Camino flashbacks. They have to. I feel like they have to go back to those.
Why even include those at this point, right?
Right.
That
been there
hasn't
twice.
played a
Remind
part
you
at all.
that he's a
So-
clone, even though it's not been brought up once in the show.
That's why it lends credence.
And
to
he has
something.
daddy issues because he watches his daddy fly away.
He has daddy issues?
Daddy.
Why are you bringing Thad into
Yeah,
this?
you brought
He has
Thad.
daddy issues.
And then in terms of what we all thought was going to happen in this episode,
Man, I wish mine was right.
Krishna thought the entire Power Ranger biker gang were going to die. That didn't happen.
I was hoping for it.
I said that the Pikes threat will wrap up by the end of this episode.
But a biker gang did die. It just wasn't the one I wanted.
Yeah, Pike's threat, that's probably going to be the whole season-long thing. And then Arjuna said a lightsaber will appear.
Why?
A light in the sky did appear.
Yeah,
So
that's
that
true.
doesn't really count
Yeah.
at all.
Wow, you're 0 for. Well, this is a big 0 for 3.
Yeah, we kind of lost on this one. No points for anyone.
Oh, boo.
Episode 5 predictions.
I'll go.
You say the Mandalorian shows up. But
No, that's gonna be
the
after that.
Mandalorian will die.
Cobb Vanth is going to appear in the next episode, and I think that's where we're going to connect exactly how Boba was able to get to Mando and get his armor back.
lame. That's a lame prediction.
But that's probably the show has been somewhat lame in part, so it tracks.
Fine, I'm going to go bold here. The Millennium Falcon will appear
Get out.
towards the end of the episode.
No.
Look how specific
I hope
and
it
bold
shows
that
up
is.
right at the beginning.
Yeah, exactly.
And Chewie comes out. There's a whole fucking conversation like, fuck.
There's a conversation between Chewie and Black Chrysanthemum. No subtitles. It's just them growling at each other. Yeah, there's nothing. You just have to figure out what.
I would love that. And you have to tell what the context of the conversation is, just like what they're
their
doing.
body language.
That'd be sick.
Yeah,
They should
and
totally do
clearly
that.
they go through all the emotions, but like in the wrong order.
like they're like hugging each other and they're punching each other, and then they're giving each other soup.
I don't know where they got the soup from, but
Jin, do you have a bold prediction
Yeah,
for
we
episode
are
5?
going to get a flashback, but it won't be through the back to tank, and it won't be through Boba. I think we're going to get flashbacks with Black Chrysanthemum.
ooh,
That feels weird, but okay.
like a gladiator. He's like,
Yeah.
"Are you not entertained?"
Yeah,
And
it's a
then he throws-
flashback, and it's just comic strips from the comics.
Yeah, he throws like a Trandoshan like leg at the Emperor.
Yeah.
Someone like
Jabba.
whoever's directing the episode is like, fuck shooting this shit. We'll just show the
Yeah,
comic
I think
strips.
we'll get with him or with Fennec. I think we're going to they're still going to utilize the flashback
Element.
portion because it's been a consistent part of the show. It would just be weird to stop using it.
It'd be kind of funny if Christian or who said it? You said it. His arm gets ripped off. So
what
he has to use a
Krishna said,
backup tank.
That would be amazing.
A little
Is it
nubby.
that time?
It is that time. Arjuna, you get to start us off.
Ravi.
Hello.
Was the Book of Boba.
You sound just like Kuroko from Kuroko's
Chapter
Basketball by the way,
4.
when you said that. Sorry, but he did.
The Book of Basketball.
Nice.
The Book of Boba, Chapter 4. Was it good?
It was good. It's I feel like I have to at this point going forward. I have to stop saying yes for every episode and actually start like critically thinking going forward. And the reason I say this is because I feel like I made a mistake last week by saying that episode was good. Because upon rewatching it, no, it was not good. It was actually legitimately bad. I just said it yes because I felt bad. To be completely honest,
I actually thought last week's was better than this week.
I think this one was better.
Interesting.
Because there was also partially the info dump and like fixing of things.
You're gonna watch it next week again, Ravi?
Yeah,
And be like,
probably.
oh, why did I say that?
Yeah, I think for next episode 5 of Book of Boba, I'm gonna watch it at least 2 times before I do the pod,
Oh yeah.
and like really,
That's what I try to
smart.
do.
really
That's
like
smart.
What I try to
think
do.
about it and remove the fact that I'm a super fan.
There you go.
Krishna was Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 4, The Gathering Storm. Good.
So you just highlighted a really interesting issue because I want to say yes.
Uh-huh.
I feel bad for saying no.
Why do we
but
feel
it's no.
bad? That's
It's
weird.
no.
It's because I think we have an attachment to Star Wars versus like we're much more cynical about Marvel stuff, for example, right?
Oh, fuck Marvel.
Because also because I think we grew up like with these cartoons and like that's the top tier for us, and like we like the MCU, but it's not like we're able to be like, okay, this is actually bad, and like this is versus like
attachment to it.
for Star Wars, it's like
It's
that
like
was our
first
lives.
love.
Yeah,
It's our first love.
exactly.
yeah, that makes
And
sense.
like it means a lot. It means just so much more than like the MCU, because the MCU like only came into our lives in 2008. Like, you know, that continuity versus this continuity of Star Wars has been in our lives the entire time.
right.
Yeah.
You think you'd be more critical of it then?
I mean, if it's the sequels, yes.
Yeah, weird how you're able to just turn it on for the sequels. No, yeah, it's a no. It's just too many times where I was like, honestly, some of it's just boring. I mean, and I hate to say it, it's just too slow in some parts. The parts of it is just choppy as well. Even some of the acting is a little choppy here and there. I think that's why I feel bad, because I like Tamara Morrison. I like the cast, and I feel like it should be better, but it isn't.
Yeah,
So
I
that's
feel
just
like
the same.
they. I
That's
feel
just-
like they made a
it's a shame.
conscious effort to make him talk more because they didn't want the comparisons to Mando, where he doesn't talk a lot. Right? He's not a silent protagonist, but you know, you don't see his face.
He's at his best.
Which is
when he's
weird.
silent.
Why can't we have a bunch of moody people in Star? Like the universe sucks.
Right.
Everyone's gonna be a fucking moody.
And that maybe
Moody
that's,
boy.
maybe that's the problem with the show. Maybe having this come out after Mando, when Boba is so similar to Mando, right? And they obviously intentionally made Mando like similar to Boba Fett, because I don't know if you guys remember, like before the show came out, when the first stills were coming out, people were like, "Oh, is this Boba Fett?"
Mhm.
Like that was the first thing. And I think because they finally made a Boba Fett episode, they don't want people to just think this is Mando season 3. They want this to be like, "Oh, this is a different character." But in doing that, you've also changed fundamentally who this character is.
Yeah.
And maybe that's also why we feel bad, because it's like,
it's Boba Fett.
right, it's Boba Fett, and it's like, oh yeah, we want to like give them a chance to see what they're doing. But 4 episodes in, it's like, what are they doing?
I will say this episode did have some really good moments. Like, I thought the whole battle with the Sarlacc pet was hilarious because it was like Boba facing his #1 nemesis.
Yep.
And I'm like, that's funny.
Yeah.
And also blowing up the speeder bikes. I'm like, finally, we got like an authentic Boba
Iconic.
moment.
Yeah.
But
I
that
would
was
love
it.
that,
was
as
it.
I would love that as a poster, just like
you gonna
fire
have it.
sprayer, just like raining havoc down on
Yeah.
those bikes were great.
Arjuna was. Oh, sorry. Last thing. Arjuna was this chapter of Book of Boba good.
Despite it containing maybe my favorite visual of the show so far, it was not good. It was disjointed, like I said at the top, and I'm a little concerned with how this show is going. We're over halfway now. We only have 3 episodes left. Maybe it can rally and finish.
The potential's there.
Right. Maybe this is the setup, and it's some of the harder stuff to get through, and now we can just kind of go full throttle. But I kind of have my doubts now, and I'm a little bit worried about how this show's going to land the ship.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that was good. Not. Yeah, how long were you thinking about that?
Probably like 6 weeks.
Wow.
Oh, all right.
Well, that's going to do it for us on the Book of Boba Fett. Before we get out of here for this episode, this week's Was It Good? I'm going to pitch Krishna and Arjuna on Netflix's newest horror show, Archive 81. I have 60 seconds to convince them why they should tune in for this.
All right, Ravi,
Ready
your time
thing.
starts now.
Before I read this pre-written notepad here, I want to point out that I care so much about this show, and I'm so intrigued by the show. I spent time writing this little note here. So let me go ahead and read this to you guys, okay? Are you tired of large, complicated franchises? Does Marvel, Star Wars, Star Trek promise you something different, yet it is the same? Do you want to be scared, but not like super scared? Do you believe that it is possible for spirits to exist within parts of the radio spectrum that we do not understand? Then check out Archive 81, a new 8-episode Netflix show that offers something new, yet different, but yet new. That's my pitch.
You still have 10 seconds.
I know.
You're not going to use your time.
I'm
You're that confident.
I'm that confident that my pitch is intriguing enough.
And
Also, VHS Space Demons.
time
time
is
travel.
Up. Time is up. Time's up.
Honestly, I'm not going to lie. That last bit is what probably convinced me the most.
Space
of your
Demons?
when you said VHS Space Demons, is that what you said?
VHS Space Demons that time travel.
Okay, that is all you needed to really do.
Yeah.
That's intriguing. That's a cool visual.
I love the fact that you wrote it out.
Thank
Good
you.
job.
Thank you.
The only thing is, it was very corporate sounding.
I know.
And
the
that
pitch.
hurts. That
Wanna have
hurts.
fun.
You. That hurts you. I want Ravi, not the Netflix spokesman.
Right.
Is
but I
Netflix
had to
paying
get
you?
more
Are we sponsored by Netflix right now?
Yeah.
No,
Damn it.
Because you went all out there.
Anyway,
That said, very good. Intriguing.
again, if you guys can stomach it, I would say watch it, and then let's
Is
do
it gory?
a pod. It's not gory,
Oh.
but if you can stomach
Will
it,
I
scary.
sleep?
If you can sleep and stomach it,
How will I know if I can sleep before? I need to know that before.
I'll say this. This
Remember
obviously-
what Eternals did to him.
This obviously doesn't count as my pitch. I'll say this, though, and you can ask Lauren this. I would only try and watch the show when the light was on, like the daylight, and I would also make sure not to watch it like in this room, which is very dark and kind of secluded from the rest. I'd watch it in the main part of the house.
Wow. Is that scary?
It's not that it's that scary. It's just
Disturbing.
there's things there disturbing, and like why I really want you guys to look into it is because it does touch upon a science that it touches upon like the idea of like the radio spectrum frequency discussions that tie into like ghosts, aliens, interdimensional stuff that kind of in a weird way kind of makes sense but kind of doesn't. It's fascinating stuff. But again, you need to watch the show to like really drive into it.
to drive into it, not
drive.
drive into it.
Drive into it, yes.
All right.
Yes.
I'm going to get my driving skills on as I watch this
Watch
show.
Archive 81 on Netflix. Was it good? Sponsored by Netflix.
And that's going to do it for us here on Was It Good. As always, we drop these pods, or we do these pods live every Friday on youtube.com/wasitgood. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram at Was It Good Pod. Follow us on Twitter at Was It Good. Our website, wasitgood.info, has some really good blogs. Definitely check it out. Our next pod is going to be this coming Friday on Peacemaker. Unfortunately, it's just going to be Krishna and myself, or Arjuna and myself, excuse me. And Mr. Lieberman will also be joining us as special guest because we need an outside opinion on Peacemaker.
Michael will just be Krishna. Like he will just pretend to be Krishna.
Lemon is one of the greatest actors of our generation, so he will play Krishna. By the way, I haven't watched Peacemaker, so you have to play me and forget about it and act like that you haven't seen.
You should watch the show just for the intro song.